Spencer Dutton survived a world war. He survived lions, crocodiles, and the deadliest corners of Africa. He survived betrayal, heartbreak, and the kind of grief that breaks most men beyond repair. But what happened to Spencer Dutton between 1923 and 1944? Because here's the truth. The Spencer we are going to see in 1944 is not the same man we fell in love with in 1923. He is darker, he is colder, he is carrying wounds that never healed. And today, before a single episode of 1944 airs, we are going to talk about Spencer Dutton's shocking fate and what it truly means for the future of the Dutton family. If you watched the finale of 1923, you already know that Spencer's story ended in the most heartbreaking way possible. He lost Alexandra, the woman he crossed oceans for, the woman he gave up everything for. Alex died giving birth to their son, John Dutton II, and in that single moment, something inside Spencer Dutton died with her. Think about that for a second. This is a man who had already been destroyed by World War I, a man who carried the trauma of battle in his bones every single day, a man who went to Africa just to escape the pain inside his own head. And just when he finally found a reason to live again, just when Alex gave him hope and love and a future, she was taken from him. That is not just loss, that is devastation on a level that most people will never understand. And that is exactly the Spencer Dutton who will walk into 1944. Now, by the time we reach 1944, Spencer has been living with that grief for over 20 years. 20 years of raising John Dutton II, 20 years of running the Dutton Ranch, 20 years of carrying the weight of a family legacy on broken shoulders. And here is something very important that many people are not talking about. Spencer did not stay alone after Alex's death. We know that somewhere in those years, Spencer began a relationship with a widowed woman, and he had a son with her as well. Now, this is where things get very interesting, because Spencer never married this woman, which means that this son, as much as Spencer may care for him, does not carry the full legitimacy of the Dutton name the way John Dutton II does. And you can already feel the tension that is building here, right? Two sons, two very different claims, and one ranch that has always meant everything to this family. But before we even get to that rivalry, we need to understand what kind of man Spencer has become by 1944. Because this is the part of the story that nobody is really talking about. Spencer Dutton in 1923 was passionate. He was emotional. He was a man who felt things deeply and was not afraid to show it. But a man who spends 20 years carrying grief, raising children, managing a ranch, and living with regret does not stay soft. He becomes stone. He becomes exactly the kind of cold, hard, distant father that we have seen repeated across every single Dutton generation in Yellowstone, and that is not a coincidence. Taylor Sheridan has been showing us this pattern from the very beginning. The Dutton men are not born cold, they are made cold, and Spencer Dutton will be the most powerful example of that transformation we have ever seen in this entire universe. Now think about what 1944 means as a year. The Normandy landings, the deadliest and most brutal chapter of World War II. And Spencer's sons, John Dutton II and his half-brother, will both be around 20 years old by this time, the exact age of a soldier, the exact age of a young man who gets sent to war. And if you think Taylor Sheridan is not going to send these boys into the horror of World War II the same way Spencer was sent into World War I, then you have not been paying attention. This is the cycle that defines the Dutton family. Every generation bleeds. Every generation loses something it can never get back. And Spencer, the man who already knows what war does to a person, will have to watch his sons walk straight into it. That right there is the most painful part of Spencer's fate, not his own suffering, but watching history repeat itself through the people he loves most. And then there is Elizabeth Dutton. After Jack's death, Elizabeth left for Boston pregnant and broken. But we fully expect Elizabeth to return to Montana by the time 1944 begins, and she will not be coming back as the same young woman who left. She is coming back as a mother, as a woman who has spent years in the East, raising her son, building herself back up, and her son Jack Dutton's child will also be around the same age as John Dutton II, which means the ranch, the legacy, the Dutton name, all of it is now being pulled in 3 different directions at the same time. 3 young men, 3 different mothers, 1 ranch, and 1 aging, broken, emotionally distant Spencer standing at the center of it all, trying to hold everything together. This is Spencer Dutton's shocking fate. Not a dramatic death, not a heroic ending, but something far harder than either of those things. A long, slow life of surviving when part of you already died the moment Alex took her last breath. A life of watching your sons grow into men you recognize because they look just like the worst parts of yourself. A life of carrying a legacy that demands everything from you and gives very little back. Spencer Dutton will survive until 1969, but surviving is not the same as living, and 1944 is going to show us the difference between those two things in a way that will break your heart all over again.